The TV is not connected to the internet, baby. Everything's steady in here. There's a blue light in here. That means that everything's excellent. I'm saying a modem blue light. Okay, guys. This is where you get all the little Spider-Man gizmos and whatnot, action packs going on. Hey, you gotta connect the TV to the internet. time, TV time, TV time, TV time, TV time, TV time.
Like put some clips on it. I don't understand. We can just put Clubhouse on. I mean, just restart the whole Wi-Fi connection and then it's on.
No, it's just the TV not connected.
Okay, it's a wired disconnect.
Yes,
So
because it's
it's a
connected to the
wire over
TV.
there that disconnected.
Quiet.
What is this connected to the TV? Wire can't be connected to like wire can't do this.
To what I'm saying is connected to the TV. The TV's not connected to the internet. That's the wire connection it's talking about.
Up there.
Yeah.
deaths and the Spider-Man, Venom 2, and Morbius footage. Everyone cue up the Daily Bugle to see how J. Jonah Jameson is going to blame Spider-Man for all this virus and the movie delays. But going down the list, starting with number 5, if you didn't see the big announcement yesterday, it was right at the end of the day. Sony finally caved to the virus and canceled all the release dates for the movies that were supposed to come out this summer. Not just the Morbius movie, but most people just saw that and said, oh, what's going to happen now? Thankfully, Sony included some more details about what it's actually planning on doing next. So, Morbius is supposed to come out March 19th, 2021.
Looks like
Pretty
Doc's
big
gone for the
change.
night.
Originally, everyone thought
Time
the
to
Morbius
sneak
would
in
be
some
safe from the
Spider-Man.
blowback because it wasn't coming out till right after Comic-Con at the end of July, late summer. Should be fine. People will be going to movies by then. Seems like Sony is a little bit worried about that. Maybe people will not be going to see movies in July. They've also delayed the release date of their special untitled mystery Spider-Man movie that was coming out next October as well. We still don't know what that is officially, but it's going to be another big Spider-Man spin-off movie set within the Venom universe. Number 4. Here's the thing, though. You hear Sony is moving all the release dates for its summer movies, and you remember Venom 2 is also coming out just a little while after that later this year, and you start to panic. Wait a minute, what's going to happen to Venom 2? Within that announcement that Sony made, though, they claimed Venom 2 would still come out in October later this year, despite the fact that they're actually closer to finishing the Morbius movie. They've been working on Morbius way longer than they've been working on Venom 2. So it's great that they're not delaying Venom 2, something to look forward to later this year. We're just going to need you to prove it and release that Venom 2 trailer that you promised us earlier. But if Sony and Marvel are working together to set up Tom Holland's Spider-Man crossover with all the Sony Venom movies and their spin-offs, like Morbius is a spin-off of the Venom movie, and then the Sinister Six team setup that they're doing, and all that's supposed to start in the Morbius movie, as we saw from all those Spider-Man Easter eggs in the Morbius trailer, then continue on with even bigger Easter eggs and crossover during Venom 2. Number 3, why would they choose to release Morbius next year after Venom 2, instead of just releasing Morbius in October and moving Venom 2 to early next year? It'd be kind of like Marvel releasing Avengers Endgame before Avengers Infinity War. Just really weird, like you're missing all the setup stuff before you do full-blown crossover stuff. Well, according to all the news reports that the Hollywood trades were filing last night after the big Sony announcement about the Spider-Man movie changes, the real reason Sony delayed the Morbius movie isn't because it's afraid no one's going to go to theaters in July. They claim that Sony is actually trying to hedge their bets for early 2021 and fill a big hole in their release schedule for that early part of the year. Because what you don't realize is that the problem Sony and a lot of other movie studios, including Marvel, have is that they were supposed to be filming movies right now. Like Sony was supposed to be filming Tom Holland's Uncharted movie, if you ever thought that movie would happen. The Uncharted movie was originally supposed to come out in March next year, but last month when the virus blew up Hollywood and everyone had to stop filming movies and TV shows all over the world, all the movies that were supposed to come out early next year have now been delayed to later in next year. So even though Sony could have just pushed Morbius to later this year, they just needed a really big movie to release early next year, and their Spider-Man Venom spin-off movies have just been earning them dump trucks of cash. Even if you didn't like the Venom movie, it earned a giant pile of cash. This is also something that's affecting Marvel with their movies right now too in the MCU, but I'll do a separate Marvel video because they made a bunch of different changes. But number 2, we have a situation now where all the Spider-Man Morbius stuff that's supposed to set up Venom 2 Spider-Man crossover isn't happening in the right order. What were those scenes going to look like, and what was the story going to be, and how are they going to fix it so that it all makes sense in the timeline when we see it in the right order? So first thing, Tom Holland wasn't supposed to have a full-blown cameo scene during Morbius. After test screenings recently, it was just reported that during the Morbius movie, this Vulture scene with Michael Keaton's Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming was happening at the same prison that Carnage was being held at the end of the first Venom movie. Supposedly, that Vulture cameo scene implied that Cletus Cassidy had not yet gotten the Carnage symbiote. It was still just Cletus Cassidy chilling out in prison. But the Morbius character was supposed to have been captured by Tyrese's character in the FBI, thrown in that same prison, then eventually break out using his new abilities. And during that is when you see the Vulture cameo. They just use that opportunity to also break out of prison, where they would start setting up the Sinister Six, because the Scorpion was also supposed to show up during that, or at least be referenced in some way. We're putting a squad together. Let's go do some crime. During that big prison bust out, you were supposed to see some sort of Cletus Cassidy breakout that would then lead into the Venom 2 movie, explaining how he got out of prison. But that was supposed to be the end of the Vulture Sinister Six scenes. Just really quick setup for future Sinister Six stuff. I'm sure they paid Michael Keaton millions and millions of dollars for his 2 minutes of screen time. That Spider-Man scene from the Morbius trailer we all saw wasn't supposed to happen till later in the movie, but Morbius literally just walks past the graffiti in an alleyway and that's it. The suit was supposed to have been changed to Tom Holland's new Spider-Man Far From Home suit by the time the movie came out, so that it all made sense. The murderer graffiti would be on top of his Far From Home suit, referencing the end of Spider-Man Far From Home and Mysterio's death. We don't have as much information about what Spider-Man scenes during Venom 2 are supposed to look like, other than Sony was just trying to get Tom Holland to sign a new deal to have a full-blown cameo scene. But being realistic, I think that was just supposed to be a quick 10-second cameo scene showing him on the run, John Wick 3 style, Spider-Man work from home. Before the big outbreak, the memes were all about Spider-Man being homeless, can't go home, Spider-Man hunted. Now it's all about him being trapped inside his home.
I'm going to nominate a bunch of people. So we've got Chris Hemsworth, Chris Pratt, RDJ, the Russo brothers, Karen Gillan, Elizabeth Olsen, Mark Ruffalo, Dave Bautista, Chadwick Boseman, The Rock, Ryan Reynolds, Jake Gyllenhaal, Hugh Jackman. I cannot wait for this video. All right, here we go. 10 push-ups. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All right, let's get it, everybody.
There have been a couple big Spider-Man 3 announcements in the past day, too, so I will do a new Spider-Man 3 video at some point. Big couple years for Spider-Man coming up with all the different movies that he's appearing in. My number one WTF, now that the order of all these cameo scenes and Easter eggs have been changed,
what you got there?
what Sony has to do now is to change the Venom 2 Spider-Man cameo a little
just a
so
side
that it
project.
doesn't reference too much stuff from the Morbius movie that you would have had to have seen in order for it all to make sense. Like, just have Spider-Man cameo at the end of the Venom movie, implying that there's going to be a Spider-Man Venom crossover in a future movie.
I don't know what
Think about the way Sony engineered the
Let me
Morbius
explain.
trailer
I
with
wish
that
you told me
weird Tobey
sooner.
Maguire Spider-Man
I
suit
wanted to.
referencing Spider-Man Far From Home.
But
It didn't totally
I was afraid
make
that if word
sense.
got
Like,
out,
fans were
my
thinking
family might be in
multiverse,
danger.
crazy Tobey Maguire Easter eggs. But apparently the reason why the Tobey Maguire suit was in there was just because Sony wanted to slap something in really
Yes.
quickly. It wasn't thinking too much about
I
the
guess if
continuity
you
or the
design
larger
his equipment,
implications. So they're
you're
not
bound to
thinking
be a
too much
target
about
too.
that making sense. They're probably not too worried about the
Yeah.
Venom 2 Morbius cameo
Don't worry.
scenes happening in the
Your
wrong
secret's
order and it
safe.
not making sense either. That's okay. That's what YouTube breakdown videos
Well,
are for. The really easy fix
I'll
that
leave
they
you
can
to it.
have, though, is just change some of their J. Jonah Jameson cameo scenes so that when he's yelling about Spider-Man in the background in the Morbius movie and in Venom 2, they just have him referencing
should be-
Spider-Man, Venom, and Morbius in the timeline so that it all makes sense together. We don't know a lot about what's happening with J. Jonah Jameson during Venom 2, only that he's supposed to cameo during Morbius and Venom 2 and just yell about Spider-Man in the background, pretty much the same way that the Spider-Man PS4 game used that character. In better news, there were a lot of reports about Sony releasing a bigger Venom 2 trailer sometime really, really soon. If they wind up doing that, of course I'll do a video for it. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see that video when I post it. The main reason why Sony didn't delay Venom 2 is because it's coming out later in October after they think people will be seeing movies again, and they expect Venom 2 to be a much bigger box office earner than the Morbius movie. But everyone, let me know in the comments, how do you think that Sony is going to change all the Spider-Man stuff in the Morbius movie and Venom 2 so that it all makes sense if they release Venom 2 before the Morbius movie? While I was making this video, there were also a bunch of announcements about Spider-Man 3 and the other Marvel movies, so I'll try to make that video as soon as possible. But leave all your requests and big questions in the comments below. I'll name a new giveaway winner when I post the next big Marvel video. Everyone, click here for my breakdown of that new Marvel Eternals footage, and click here for my breakdown of the new Marvel
getting much
Weapon
coverage.
X scenes.
I should look for
Thank
more
you so much
towers
for
to activate.
watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.
Spider-Man, I think I figured out how Fisk's men are keeping his rackets running. Construction sites.
Wasn't that shut down when he was arrested?
No, it's one of his legitimate businesses. Multiple investors. We can't act without cause.
But now you've got that, right?
That's why I'm hoping you can keep an eye on the locations. Tell me if you see anything suspicious.
You got it. I'll be your nosy neighborhood Spider-Man.
My loyal listeners, brushheads they call themselves, though never quite understood why, will remember my warnings about the downright Orwellian crime monitoring system the city was installing. Why? Because someone came to their senses.
Awesome. Doc would be proud.
Get him! The boss wants Spider-Man's head! Hey, what the... Come on, get him!
Uh-oh. More of them.
Whoop his ass!
Spider-Man, turns out we busted 4 illegal firearms dealers within a 3-block radius of that site.
Gun running. Let's see what I can do to cut down the supply.
Not walking away from that! Damn!
Dang, looks like they called their buddies. Oh, hey, more guys. Welcome to the party. House rules. Leave your shoes at the door. Unless you're not wearing socks, in which case, buy some socks already. Oh, anyone want to surrender? No?
Open wide! I'll teach you some respect. Get back down here. Yeah, got it.
Place is locked down, Captain. Actually, webbed down.
And someone finally reported shots fired, so I've got officers inbound. Good work.
Und dann sehe ich dieses Flugzeug, hör Maschinengewehre und hör einfach mal dieses Klicken.
Fisk has more construction sites throughout the city, vetting their fronts too. Keep an
Welcome
eye
back,
out
everyone.
and
It's
report
Charlie.
in
This is
if
going to
you
be
see
my new
anything
Spider-Man
suspicious.
3 Marvel video. Apparently, Kevin Smith is saying that Daredevil is
If I'm gonna
supposed to
find all the
cameo
Fisk's
during
construction
Spider-Man
sites,
3,
I
so
should
we'll break it all
recalibrate my
down.
mapping
There's some
software to
Easter eggs
be
in
more
here.
accurate.
Obviously, everyone's
Using a
wondering
depth
what
map
Marvel was going to do
post-process on
with the
photos of
Netflix
popular
characters after
landmarks
they
should
canceled
do
all
it.
those series.
And I know
If
just
you're
the
new
one
to
to
the
start
channel,
with.
be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing an Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and let me know what you want them to do with Daredevil inside the MCU. So let's break this down top 5 WTF style. Number 5, Kevin Smith is claiming Daredevil is going to appear during Spider-Man 3 as a very notable, very good lawyer sympathetic to vigilantes and superheroes, and he's supposed to be somewhere in the movie. They haven't started filming Spider-Man 3 yet. Tom Holland claims that they're going to start filming in July, despite what's going on in the world right now with the virus and how crazy things are getting, and Hollywood just shutting down for about the next 2 weeks as I'm posting this video. Right after the Spider-Man Far From Home post-credit scene, that J. Jonah Jameson scene where Mysterio outs Spider-Man's secret identity, everyone was saying Spider-Man will need to clear his name. Wouldn't it be great if he got a lawyer? What other big Marvel characters do we know that are lawyers and sympathetic to vigilantes? Daredevil. Wouldn't it be great if Daredevil was in Spider-Man 3? But at that point, it was still a rumor, so I tried to waiting for more official people to start talking about stuff like this before I do videos for it. But because they haven't started filming the movie yet, that means that if Kevin Smith is talking about someone on the inside saying that Daredevil's supposed to have some kind of cameo during Spider-Man 3, it means someone saw a draft of a Spider-Man 3 script. So keep in mind that there are many different drafts, and movie scripts change during filming. Sometimes they'll start filming movies like Spider-Man 3 before the script is actually done. So the plots of a lot of movies change while they're in the process of making those movies. There was a big interview recently with Tom Holland. He was talking all about Spider-Man 3, how the plot is really crazy, much bigger than Spider-Man Far From Home. I did a separate video about that, so I'll link it at the end of this. But obviously, there's a number of reasons why a lawyer would come in handy given the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. Marvel and Netflix canceled all of the Netflix series 2 years ago. A lot of people wondered what Kevin Feige's plans were going for those characters, because some of them are actually pretty big fan favorite characters. Daredevil, Luke Cage, Punisher, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. When they canceled all those, Marvel issued messages separately on all the different Twitter accounts for those shows saying that this would not be the end. There would be more stories to tell with these characters. Like in the case of Daredevil, they said Daredevil will return. Kevin Feige has always been a huge fan of the Daredevil character. He grew up on Frank Miller's Daredevil. Makes sense that he would want to include him in some kind of MCU project at some point, a Disney Plus series or a big Marvel movie. The reason why they didn't immediately say what they were doing with those characters right after they canceled the series is because part of Marvel's contract with Netflix for the Marvel Netflix shows stated that if they mutually decided to cancel the series, Marvel then could not turn around and use the characters in other projects for at least 3 years. The official legal term for that is a contractual cooling off period. Netflix is always going to be able to keep the episodes for those series on Netflix. I'm sure at some point they'll be able to license them to Disney Plus, but they'll always get to keep them on Netflix. So number 4, all the Marvel Netflix series were canceled during 2018. It doesn't seem like it's been that long, but Spider-Man 3 is being released during July 2021, which is about 3 years after all the Marvel Netflix series were canceled, outside of that contractual cooling off period.
Always nice to stop a mugging. Gotta stay strong in the fundamentals.
Oh, he just wrote all of our names, didn't he? How can you know that? Because I was thinking the same.
So it seems like they've met that requirement, leaving Daredevil or Matt Murdock free to show up during Spider-Man 3 in some kind of cameo. I'm sure there's 1,000 other pages of contractual stipulations that we don't know about. Lawyers always make everything more fun, don't they? But after a certain period of time, Marvel can do whatever it wants to with the characters again. Next big question, number 3. Is Marvel going to officially canonize the events of the Marvel Netflix series to the MCU, regardless of where these characters show up next? A lot of the Marvel Netflix stans will claim that the Netflix series are already canon to the MCU, but here's the thing about that. You can't really call them canon unless major movie characters also show up on the TV series, which is why it's okay to say Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is canon to the MCU, because they have Coulson from the movies, he originated in the movies, Nick Fury originated in the movies, and he guest starred during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1. Kobe Smulders, Maria Hill character, guest starred during Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. None of the real big Marvel movie actors ever showed up on the Netflix series, and anytime they referenced events of the movies or characters from the movies, they wouldn't use the proper names. It was really weird. They called the Battle of New York, quote-unquote, the incident, and instead of calling Captain America, Jessica Jones referred to him as the, quote-unquote, flag wearer, because his costume is red, white, and blue with stars based on the American flag. Like, why wouldn't you just call him Captain America? The Russos did say that they considered including Daredevil and some of the other Netflix characters in news for Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame at one point while they were writing the script, but they said the main reason for not including them was that there were just already too many characters in those movies, and there were a lot of movie characters that also did not make the cut. So it was a weird situation with the Marvel Netflix shows. Like, Kevin Feige didn't really want to have to deal with them. He just wanted the Daredevil character. I've never heard him speak of Punisher in interviews, but Punisher and Luke Cage would be great anywhere they want to put them. I'll talk more about what's going on with the future of the other Netflix characters when Marvel starts announcing more projects with them. Number 2, if Daredevil is showing up during Spider-Man 3, what's his role, how big is it going to be, and will it be Charlie Cox's Daredevil? The way the news sites and blogs are reporting this is that a highly skilled lawyer is supposed to appear somewhere during Spider-Man 3, which makes it sound like if this winds up being a thing, Daredevil does appear during Spider-Man 3, it would just be Matt Murdock showing up as a lawyer as part of the Spider-Man 3 plot where Spider-Man tries to clear his name and prove to the world that Mysterio framed him for his death. The funny thing about that storyline is that whatever he does to clear his name, nothing he does is going to get J. Jonah Jameson to back off. That's just the way that character works. Even after Spider-Man eventually clears his name, JJ will find some other thing to get mad at him about and claim Spider-Man is ruining the world and must be stopped. Post all your J. Jonah Jameson Spider-Man memes. But it sounds like whatever initial plans they may have had for a Daredevil cameo, it really is just that, just a cameo. He's not a major character during the film. So if Daredevil winds up showing up during Spider-Man 3, it's probably just a really, really short cameo. But I sincerely hope that Kevin Feige keeps Charlie Cox's Daredevil inside the MCU. He did speak highly of the Daredevil series in the past. Personally, I don't care if he recasts at least one of the Marvel Netflix characters, looking at you, Iron Fist. But Charlie Cox was an amazing Daredevil, so he deserves a chance to continue as that character. He even just did a play with Tom Hiddleston in New York, and during Halloween last year, they went out as each other's characters. Tom Hiddleston dressed in a Netflix Daredevil costume, and Charlie Cox wearing an MCU Loki costume. Everyone give a name to this team-up right here. What would you call this TV show with Loki and Daredevil teaming up? But number one, WTF, what happens to Daredevil after Spider-Man 3? If he does show up during Spider-Man 3. He's not really an A-list Avengers level character, and they won't even do Avengers 5 for at least 3 or 4 more years. So where do they put Daredevil after he debuts in the MCU? My top picks right now are just some of the other related Disney Plus series. They're getting ready to film She-Hulk at the end of this year. She-Hulk, Jennifer Walters, is a lawyer inside the Marvel Universe who represents superheroes and vigilantes. Because of the timing of that, the 3-year cooling off period might not totally be up, so they might not be able to use the Daredevil character. But there's always the Moon Knight series, and there's always the opportunity that Marvel could just do a new Daredevil series on Disney Plus. People kind of wondered if they were going to do Daredevil Season 4 on Disney Plus, but I think in the name of simplicity, if they do a new Daredevil series on Disney Plus, they would just start as a soft reboot, maybe keep some of the characters. I would really love to see Kingpin show up in a Spider-Man movie, so hopefully at some point Kingpin will find his way into the MCU movies.
Trying to out-psycho the other. My next guest is lucky to have survived an armed robbery. Sir, we're glad you're okay.
Thanks. It was nuts. These dudes walk in like they own the place.
Writing your memoirs? Don't forget the hyphen between Spider and Man.
But everyone, let me know in the comments, outside of a potential Spider-Man 3 cameo, which movie or Disney Plus series do you want Marvel to put Daredevil in next? Obviously, things are crazy right now with the virus, so I'll do video updates as we get more information about what's going on. I just posted a big video about all the movies that have been canceled or delayed, moved to other dates, so I'll post a link to that at the end of this. As long as you have alerts enabled for my channel, you should see all the videos when I post them. But congratulations to Simon Bohan, you're the giveaway winner for my last big Marvel video. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your details. Make sure you do that on desktop. Everyone, click here to learn about all the new movies that have been delayed and canceled, and click here for my brand new Spider-Man 3 video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.
Robinhood believes now is the time to do money, without the commission fees and account minimums, so you can start investing wherever you are, even on the bus. Download now and get your first stock on us. Robinhood. Restaurants have always been there for you, and even though tables are empty at the moment, now you can be there for them. While the doors may be closed, the kitchens are open for delivery.
What's up, everybody?
Charlie, this is going to be my new Spider-Man 3 Marvel video. Tom Holland was giving us all kinds of information and details about what's going on with the movie, the Venom crossover, and Marvel's Sinister Six movie that they're getting ready to do. There's even a brand new Spider-Man spin-off movie that they're developing that I'll talk about. There's a bunch of Easter eggs. I'll also explain what's going on with all the delays that just got announced. There's a bunch of movies and TV shows that were delayed this week because of all the craziness. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. I will keep doing updates as things change the next couple of weeks. It might get a little crazy in the next couple of weeks, but it's not quite as bad as it seems. I was doing a movie ticket giveaway, but because of all the theater closings and cancellations, we'll turn that into an Amazon giveaway for now. All you have to do to enter that is just be a subscriber and leave all your theories about Spider-Man 3 on the video. So we'll just break this down top 5 style. Starting with number 5, Tom Holland is still out promoting his new Pixar movie with Star-Lord Chris Pratt. They released the movie before everyone started delaying their movies, so of course it's still out in theaters. They still have to promote it. Of course, everyone doing interviews is asking him Spider-Man questions, so that's where all this Spider-Man 3 Venom crossover Sinister Six stuff comes from, and the Spider-Man spin-off movie. The really good news is that Tom Holland said that Spider-Man 3 has not been delayed. They're still filming the movie starting in July. It's on the same schedule as they were for the production of Spider-Man Far From Home. Tom Holland even talked about the story, the script, obviously the big Sinister Six characters that were coming back in some form. Thankfully, Marvel's snipers did not take him out on the spot. And when I say Sinister Six characters appearing during Spider-Man 3, technically all the Spider-Man Marvel movies have always had characters who were part of the comic book Sinister Six team, like Vulture, Scorpion, Mysterio during Spider-Man Far From Home. But Marvel and Sony only started specifically talking about their Sinister Six plans and Venom crossover plans recently.
Marvel Studios is excited to show you what comes next.
You're gonna love this.
These villains that we now have in our universe happen to be characters that are in the Sinister Six. There may be something that happens in that.
No matter where he goes, the world is going to be different for him.
Here's the real blockbuster. Brace yourselves, you might want to sit down.
Spider-Man's name is Peter Parker. What the No more hiding. Yeah, no more hiding.
There's a difference in doing Sinister Six Easter eggs and references to Spider-Man comic book moments, then coming right out and saying, yes, we are definitely going to make a Sinister Six movie with these characters that you keep seeing in all these movies. Number 4, when Tom Holland was talking about the story and the script for Spider-Man 3, he said it was a way bigger movie than Spider-Man Far From Home, so they just keep getting bigger and bigger with the movies. Pretty standard fare, even though Spider-Man is going to be on the run, John Wick 3 style, from everyone hunting him. J. Jonah Jameson, TheDailyBugle.net, putting him on blast, all the different Sinister Six characters that are coming back, Thunderbolt Ross, the World Security Council, and the U.S. government. Right now, there's still only going to be one real big main villain, though, which is tradition with the MCU Spider-Man movies. That's the big difference in the modern era Spider-Man from Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. But there are going to be cameos and references to all the future Venom crossover and Sinister Six movies and Spider-Man 4. Yes, there is a Spider-Man 4 that Sony is planning on making with Tom Holland. Recently, I also just did a video about Sony confirming that they are planning on re-signing the sharing deal with Marvel, so Spider-Man 4 will also be a Marvel movie, but obviously they haven't re-signed the deal yet. That won't happen until after they get done making Spider-Man 3 and another big Spider-Man crossover movie. And while Tom Holland was talking about all the Spider-Man 3 stuff, he interestingly revealed that he doesn't know what the big crossover movie that he's going to be doing at Marvel is going to be. That's going to happen after Spider-Man 3, before Spider-Man 4. We're at the point with Tom Holland now where Marvel knows that he's going to leak anything that they give him, so they just wait to tell him things until they want it to be leaked.
Oh, goodness. My favorite one, probably Carnage one day.
Carnage?
He's so cool.
And what about Venom? Like, a transition into Venom?
Are you trying to get a scoop out of me?
Maybe.
I'm not involved in that at all. I actually... Oh, no, I can't say that. Whoops.
Thankfully, Marvel is not pulling a Tobey Maguire Spider-Man 3 with their Spider-Man 3 or an Andrew Garfield Amazing Spider-Man 2 situation. What happened during those movies, as you all remember, is that Sony, when they were making them on their own, were so thirsty to set up sequels and spin-offs that they crammed way too many villains into each movie and hijacked the core Spider-Man story of each of those movies, spending way too much time doing full-blown origin stories for all the different villains and side characters. When the big Sony hack happened a couple of years ago, it revealed some of Kevin Feige's advice that he gave to the Sony people when they were making Amazing Spider-Man 2. One of his biggest pieces of advice to them was that he told them that they didn't need to do full-blown origin stories for each of the villains inside Amazing Spider-Man 2. Like, you can save this for another movie. You don't need to give this character all these other scenes and backstory. That's why Marvel's been taking it so slow with the Sinister Six setup stuff in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, in the actual Spider-Man Venom crossover. It's been 4 years since Tom Holland started playing Spider-Man, and we're only just starting to hear about their plans for big Venom crossover and Sinister Six stuff. And we won't even see those movies for a couple more years. Speaking of which, number 3, Sony just announced a new live-action Spider-Man spin-off movie, a big Spider-Man spin-off movie. Roberto Orsai, who had previously worked for Sony on their main Spider-Man movies before they rebooted the franchise with Tom Holland and Marvel in the MCU, is working on their new big Spider-Man spin-off movie. Since it's Sony that made the announcement, they're developing it, not Marvel. The top picks for what that spin-off movie are going to be are an actual Spider-Man vs. the Sinister Six movie. Roberto Orsai is actually a pretty big name in Hollywood, so he wouldn't do like a really small, tiny film. Whatever this is going to be, it's going to be a big Spider-Man movie. The other top picks are big spin-off movies for new Sinister Six characters like Norman Osborn, Green Goblin, or Dr. Octopus, because Dr. Octopus is OG Sinister Six, and we don't have a version of him anywhere in the Sony Venomverse or the Marvel MCU yet. Or he could also be working on their full-blown Spider-Man vs. Venom movie. They just announced they started development on it right now. The delays aren't affecting it, so it will probably be released around 2022 or 2023, just depending on how long it takes to finish the first script. Sony cranks out their Spider-Man movies and their Venom movies way faster than Marvel does, so everyone just post your theories in the comments about what you think the new big Spider-Man spin-off movie is going to be. Number 2, because of the big updated Marvel-Sony sharing deal with Spider-Man, Marvel also just announced that Tom Holland is going to be filming a bunch of new MCU Spider-Man stuff for their new Avengers Campus events. If you don't know what that is, that's a big thing for people traveling to Disneyland, Disney World. They film a bunch of new MCU material and turn it into a big event series within the MCU. But you physically have to travel there to experience it. All the movies and the little clips and stuff that they film, that only happens at Disneyland and Disney World. They're going to have a bunch of new Spider-Man suits. They're going to debut a bunch of new Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man stuff with new Iron Man suits, a bunch of new Doctor Strange stuff. So if you're a big fan of going to those live events and things like that, there's going to be a bunch of new canon MCU stuff happening during that. It won't get started till the end of July, around the time that they release the Morbius movie after Comic-Con. And currently, none of the delays are affecting any of that stuff. The only stuff that's being delayed in Hollywood, the big movies, TV shows, is stuff that's happening right now. Anything that's happening during the summer or later is probably going to be fine. So number 1, the current state of the full-blown Spider-Man Venom crossover movie is that it's still a couple years off, but as you saw during the Morbius trailer, and we'll see when we get the Venom 2 trailer soon, there's still a lot of Spider-Man stuff happening inside the Venomverse spin-off movies. Spider-Man images and references showing up, side characters like the Vulture having full-blown cameos. It's going to be like that for the next couple of movies that involve Spider-Man and Spider-Man-related characters like Venom, Morbius, the other Sinister Six characters. The only reason why they haven't released the Venom 2 trailer right now is just because of all the craziness right now, and because the Bloodshot movie just is not doing well critically or at the box office. They're also using this extra time to polish the special effects on Venom and Carnage before they actually start showing people footage. They're using Venom 2 as a little bit of a soft reboot of the franchise, just because they ran into some production issues on the first movie, and it was before they figured out what they were going to do with Tom Holland's Spider-Man in future Venom movies. Now that that's all figured out, they can have way more fun. So just expect that first Venom 2 trailer in the next 4 weeks or so, depending on how crazy stuff gets the next couple of weeks. As of right now, in terms of delays and cancellations, Black Widow has not been delayed. It's still
Live
coming
by
out
the
at the beginning
beach
of May.
die by the
But if they
beach
do wind up delaying it, it'll probably come out in July because it sets up a lot of stuff that goes on during Falcon and Winter Soldier and Marvel Phase 4. So they can't release Black Widow after they release the Marvel Phase 4 series. And Eternals is still coming out in November. That also has to happen after Black Widow. But I will do update videos if we get more delays on stuff. So don't worry about too much of that right now. But everyone, click here for that brand new Marvel Falcon and Winter Soldier teaser video. And click here for the new Boys Season 2 trailer video. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay awesome. I'll see you guys tonight.
It's all good, Spidey. Don't worry about it.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my new Marvel Deadpool 3 video. We've also got some deleted scenes from the other Deadpool movies we'll break down. If you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos. We're doing an Amazon giveaway. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave all your theories about Deadpool 3 on the video. So I'll talk about the deleted scenes first, then I'll talk about the Deadpool 3 stuff. Starting with number 5, Ryan Reynolds has been posting a lot of Deadpool stuff the last couple of weeks as people have been stuck inside their homes inside the United States because of the virus. Recently, he posted a brand new deleted scene from the first Deadpool movie with Deadpool going full Kenny Rogers during the big bridge fight scene because Kenny Rogers had just passed away in real life. So R.I.P. Kenny Rogers. Here's that deleted scene. That's just an example of the different things that they'll do on all the Deadpool movies. They did the same thing on Deadpool 2. There are a billion different versions of scenes that they work on. They workshop jokes. There are a lot of reasons why some of this stuff doesn't make it into the actual cut of the film. But number 4, if you guys didn't see it, Ryan Reynolds did talk about what's going on with Deadpool 3. He's been meeting with Marvel. As you can see, he's been posting pictures from inside the belly of the beast. He went on some talk shows last year to promote his charity, but was also asked about what's going on with Deadpool 3. This is the clip of him confirming that they're actually working on it right now actively. Even though they're homebound, they're still working on the story. Obviously, they're not going to be filming Deadpool 3 for a while.
Yuri, this construction site's about as legit as the watches they sell in Times Square.
We're working on it right now with the whole team. We're over at Marvel now, which is like just the big leagues. All of a sudden, it's kind of crazy. So yeah, we're working on it.
When he says they're working on it right now, he's just talking about the actual story. Marvel has a lot of movies that are in story development phase before they actually rush into production. Number 3, who's coming back? So as you saw, Ryan Reynolds is one of the few X-Men based characters at Fox to survive the latest of many snaps. Think of the reboot of all the X-Men characters at Marvel, the Fantastic Four characters. It's just the latest in a line of snaps. Currently, the only people reported to be coming back for Marvel's Deadpool 3 are Ryan Reynolds himself as Deadpool, Colossus, Morena Baccarin's Vanessa, Josh Brolin's Cable, because he signed a 5-picture deal at Fox in Domino. TJ Miller's Weasel was already out at Fox when they were still making Deadpool 3 at Fox. He was already not going to continue in the movies when they still had their original plans. And there's no mention of Negasonic Teenage Warhead either, so she might not come back, but that hasn't been confirmed. So whatever their plans are now in terms of story for Deadpool 3, it sounds like the rest of the cast will be a mixture of new core Marvel Studios characters and X-Men based characters. There have been rumors about new writers and new directors coming in for Deadpool 3. I don't know if the rumor about new writers coming in is true. Paul Wernick and Rhett Reese have been the writers on Deadpool since way back when they started developing it in 2008. This saga of Deadpool goes back to 2008 after Wolverine Origins. but I do think the report about Marvel wanting to bring on a new director for Deadpool 3 is true. Now, as for who that director is in question. There are a lot of rumors about them wanting to get Taika Waititi to do Deadpool 3. But here's the thing with that. Way back around Thor Ragnarok, Taika Waititi had heard that Marvel might get its characters back because they just started the Fox Disney buyout deal. So he was replying to people on Twitter saying that it would be great to do Deadpool inside a Thor movie or use the Deadpool character in some way or do a new Deadpool movie. So it just sounded like he was a big fan of Ryan Reynolds and the Deadpool character. Here's the thing about that, though. He hasn't said anything about it since then, and that was a couple years ago, and he's getting ready to start shooting Thor 4 Love and Thunder before the end of this year. So if he's also going to do Deadpool 3, he wouldn't be able to start on that until 2022 after he finishes releasing Thor 4. Right now, the target release date for Deadpool 3 and Marvel in Marvel Phase 5 is 2022 or 2023. So I think that kind of takes Taika out of the running because it would take about 2 years to develop the movie, and he wouldn't be able to start on it until 2022. That means they wouldn't be able to release his version of it until 2024. So you're free to fan cast any kind of director you want at this point. Here's the funny thing, though. Number 2 WTF. I just did a Fantastic Four video. I've done a couple about what Marvel's doing with the new Fantastic Four characters and Easter eggs in the MCU. But there was actually a bunch of deleted scenes of the Fantastic Four in Deadpool 2 before they finished making that movie. Originally, they had plans to include Fantastic Four characters because who better to use for comedy than the maligned Fantastic Four? They've had so many bad runs at Fox. They kind of did the same thing with the Deadpool character. Like, they kind of trash him during Wolverine Origins, then they wind up doing this really awesome version of the character in the Deadpool movie. So why not try the same thing with the Fantastic Four characters? So as you see from the concept art that they did for the movie, this would have been the version of the Fantastic Four from the 2015 Josh Trank Fantastic Four. Who better to make fun of, right? What happened with that, though, is that was early on, and it was Tim Miller's version of Deadpool 2. He eventually left the project because he said most of his decision-making power had been taken away from the studio, and he didn't want to have to direct someone else's version of Deadpool. He wanted to do his version of Deadpool. David Leitch was hired to come on and take over the movie, and by the time they had gotten started, Michael B. Jordan wasn't available anymore because he was signing on to play Killmonger in the Black Panther movie, and the people at Fox just wanted everyone to forget about that Fantastic Four movie. So they took that giant story arc out of the movie and replaced it with all the Juggernaut scenes and more X-Force scenes. So what would have happened in the Deadpool 2 Fantastic Four scene is you have Deadpool facing off against the Fantastic Four as part of this larger mutant plot. They were still doing that part of the film. But whereas they leaned really hard on the X-Mansion and the X-Men Dark Phoenix cameo scene during Deadpool 2, you have to imagine them just replacing some of that stuff with Fantastic Four scenes, which I think may have actually been more fun, even though it was cool to see the X-Men finally show up in a Deadpool movie. When they replaced some of that Fantastic Four stuff with the Juggernaut stuff, also as a way to save money, they actually had Ryan Reynolds do the voice of Juggernaut. So even though they spent way more money making Deadpool 2, they still did try to save money by not including a bunch of extra characters. Because Kevin Feige and Marvel are rebooting the Fantastic Four inside the MCU, and Deadpool 3 is kind of going to be its own self-contained thing that's rated R, whereas most of the MCU movies in tone PG-13. That's probably why the Fantastic Four is going to be off limits for Deadpool 3, as cool as it would be to see them reference all that stuff, even if you can't include those characters. In number 1 WTF, there have been rumors about them referencing the Omega Red character during the Black Widow movie because they're going to be in Russia, so there's going to be a lot of Russian Marvel comic book characters referenced in addition to Red Guardian and people we haven't seen before. But during Deadpool 2, there's a deleted scene with Omega Red that they finished inside the prison that Deadpool gets sent to. It was really big and surprising that it didn't make the final cut of the film because it would have been really cool. Did you catch his name? It's Omega Red. Omega Red? You're gonna go through makeup, or are you just gonna try to see as is? No, I skipped it for today. What are your powers then? I got corrupt ATM. My veins are the same like the Russian Marine. You let off like a barrel so people can't get close to me. You can't be super strong, super agile. Check. Something keep me busy. You really can. It's your move. Speaking of other Russian Russian comic book characters during the Black Widow movie. Hopefully they'll reference
Yuri,
Whiplash and his
I got a
father,
bunch of
Crimson Dynamo,
incapacitated
because it's
criminals
been
and
a while
designer
since we've seen
narcotics
him in
all
Iron
wrapped
Man
up
2.
and waiting for you.
The only thing that's really off
Great.
limits
I'll
to
just consider this
Deadpool
an
is
anonymous
actually
tip.
putting someone like Robert Downey Jr. or someone like Chris Evans in the movie. They can make fun of those characters, like Deadpool can make fun of Iron Man, he can make fun of any of the Avengers, but actually putting a lot of the mainstream Avengers inside the movie is a bit off limits. Ryan Reynolds is still trying to get Hugh Jackman to come back and do more Wolverine stuff, even though he's adamant that he is permanently retired. So if they find any way to convince him to do stuff with Deadpool 3, I think it would just be Hugh Jackman cameoing as Hugh Jackman, or just doing Wolverine jokes and then showing Hugh Jackman pictures. So remember to keep your expectations realistic. But if Ryan Reynolds starts talking about Deadpool 3 again, revealing any more details, I'll totally do a new video. Leave all your requests in the comments below. While you wait for everything, click here to learn about all the Marvel movies that have been either delayed or canceled this year, and click here for all the Fantastic Four Easter eggs in the MCU movies so far. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe. I'll see you guys tonight.
Armed robbery in progress.
Hey guys, I'm Eric Voss, and I've been rewatching one of my favorites.
Attention units, drug deal reported. Need an officer to check it out.
Yeah, we don't need you here right now.
Please proceed to Chelsea ASAP.
Knocking the ever-loving stuffing out of dealers is my anti-drug. If I was a cop, I'd love me. Anonymous text, easy arrest, boom, job done.
Better. Nah, you good. Even if you don't, I'm gonna take care of him. You know what I'm saying? Cause that's what daddies do.
All units be advised, break-in reported in progress. Incident was reported near the Meatpacking District.
Man, Fisk goes away and suddenly it's amateur hour.
Get him!
So, you're all going to jail, where I bet you'll be as good at breaking out as you were at breaking in.
Spider-Man, the situation is under control.
We're making our way over from Pier 4 now. Show us about 8 minutes out.
First lady, this is Miss April Gibson. She was on the side of Memphis and she heard about the preacher's preaching. She wants to come here to check it out.
All units on alert. We have a possible kidnapping. Reported location is in the vicinity of Nomad. We're making our way over from Pier 4 now. Show us about 8 minutes out.
Doing this tour is a dream for me. I'm going back to the
Carrie, I know what you do. But you're gonna be making with me.
Why are you doing this to me?
Carrie is not an option. Between the earth and the roses, whatever you require to do, between time.
Attention units. Report receipt of a narcotics sale in progress. Officers in Murray Hill, stand by for further instructions.
We got this, Spider-Man. Thanks anyway.
We're on scene and have the link.
What we do without you?
Stop it.
Seriously.
No. Do you know how many passes in your position pay? Forget not the first lady. Put you to the curb when they took over. Contemplating route change?
Restaurants have always been there for you. A place to celebrate, to take a first date, to grab a meal between soccer practice and piano. And even though tables are empty at the moment, the kitchens are full, prepping everything so it's just right, keeping customers safe, and making the food as delicious as ever. They're still there for you. Now you can be there for them. While the doors may be closed, the kitchens are open for delivery.
Look at you. You always did things your way. You made your own path, stayed up late, never ate your vegetables. You never were a fan of advice from strangers. Why should investing be any different? Buy now, buy here, and don't pay one of these guys to do it for you. Robinhood is investing your way. Unlimited commission-free trades. Always. Welcome to the future of investing. Robinhood.
Gotta be a special kind of crazy to rob a storefront in the city Spider-Man protects.
It's the pain
that pacifier.
I should have died years ago. Why am I still here if not to fix this? I have a rare blood disease, and I'm running out of time.
Good old Empire State. Man, I love
This
it.
will be my last chance.
Time to grab a snapshot.
You're up to something.
That'll do.
It's not exactly
Map should be recalibrated now. Even though much photography since quitting the Bugle. God, how much I enjoy it. Should keep an eye out for more landmarks to see.
At what cost?
I went from dying to feeling more alive than ever. Increased strength and speed. The ability to use echolocation. And an overpowering urge to consume blood. How far are we allowed to go? To fix something that's broken. Until the remedy is worse than the disease.
Michael Morbius. Got tired of doing the whole good guy thing, huh?
What's up, Doc?
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. This is going to be my Morbius trailer breakdown. What universe are we in? Because we have Spider-Man and we have the Vulture in this movie. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about, and it all seems like it's in service of a big Sinister Six team-up eventually. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the Easter egg videos. We're doing a movie ticket giveaway too. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and leave your biggest theory about that big cameo during the trailer. So I know everybody's wondering, what's the deal with Spider-Man showing up with the murderer graffiti behind him in the prison garb as he's walking by? This is all happening in New York City, as you can see from a lot of the other shots in the trailer. The flashbacks also take place in New York City. And then also Michael Keaton's Vulture character shows up at the end of the trailer looking like he just broke out of prison because he's wearing the exact same outfit that he was during the Spider-Man Homecoming post-credit scene. Totally mind-blowing. And on top of that, the picture of Spider-Man on the wall there with Murderer, that seems like it's meant to imply the events of Spider-Man Far From Home. Like everyone thinks that he killed Mysterio, so they think of him as a murderer. You'll notice that the costume isn't the MCU Tom Holland costume that he ends in Spider-Man Far From Home. It's actually the Tobey Maguire era Spider-Man costume, and the picture itself is based on the Spider-Man PS4 game. It's literally like a screen cap that they took out of Spider-Man PS4. So either someone is just messing with us a little bit, or they're just mixing and matching a whole lot of elements from MCU Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff in the new Sony Venomverse. We knew they were going to cross Tom Holland over into the Venom movies eventually. This just seems like it's all in service of that eventual crossover happening way sooner than we ever expected. I wouldn't be surprised if he actually does show up in Venom 2 at some point. But talking about the actual Morbius footage, most of you are probably at least a little familiar with the Morbius character. He was basically Marvel's attempt to do something based on the Dracula character. The funny thing is that Dracula already is a Marvel comic book character, but they wanted to create a new character. So way back in the 1970s, when the Dracula craze around the world got really, really popular, they created the Morbius character. And he's not technically a vampire the way that Dracula's a vampire. He doesn't get his abilities through a vampire bite, even though there are a lot of vampire bats flying around in the trailer. They kind of do their version of the comic book origin story. There's a couple minor changes, but a lot of Easter eggs for the original version of his origin story. The person it seems like Jared Harris is playing is actually a version of his original partner in the comics. So in the comics, Morbius is a biological scientist. He has a rare blood condition, just like he talks about during the trailer. He's slowly been dying for a long time. His time is running out, but the testing that he needs to perform on himself isn't totally legal. So they go out into international waters, like where you see them go to the special cave with the helicopter. That's their version of doing that. In the comics, it was a boat that they went out to on international waters. Morbius performs a special treatment using electroshock therapy in the blood of vampire bats mixed with his own blood. That causes the accident that gives him his powers. That's basically what's playing out during the trailer here. And then because Jared Harris is sort of this father figure to him, as he says, I've known you since you were a boy. And he also seems like he was a doctor and inspired Morbius to eventually become a doctor himself when he grew up. In the comics, when he's on that boat with his research partner and his girlfriend, Martine Bancroft, who's played by this woman in the trailer, he's immediately driven to feed through his vampire urges, and he accidentally attacks his research partner. So it seems like this footage in the trailer is him actually attacking Jared Harris and accidentally killing him without realizing what's going on. Like, he's using these abilities to jump around this New York City apartment, and then it jumps on this person. You can't quite see what's going on, but then he screams out in pain. So this might be him accidentally killing Jared Harris right after he gets his abilities. Because you see the montage in the trailer where he slowly starts to get better, but then they find out that he's starting to turn into something of a vampire himself. Like, they put him behind the glass and he starts punching it, so he probably tries to isolate himself early in the process while they're figuring out what it is that's happening to him. If you're a big comic book reader, you also probably noticed the other part of his origin story too, with this oil tanker. In the comics, after he accidentally kills his research partner, he throws himself overboard so that he won't be consumed to feed on his girlfriend, Martine Bancroft, but his survival instincts as a vampire kick in, save him, and then he gets rescued out of the water by this boat of fishermen. He winds up feeding on all of them. So you see him flying around this oil tanker boat, killing all these people. That's probably their version of that from the comics. Matt Smith is playing the Loxias Crown character, so he might wind up becoming the villain sometime later in the trailer too. It's not really clear what he's doing in the course of this trailer footage though, because you just see him on what seems like the subway platform, walking around, going somewhere else. In the comics, he had the same rare type of condition that Morbius had that was killing him. He went through a similar type of treatment and also got a bunch of powers, but wound up being super, super evil. Morbius, as you can see from the trailer, is actually getting the Venom treatment as an anti-hero inside this Sony Venomverse, and now it looks like connected to the Spider-Man MCU universe as well. The smoky-looking special effects behind him when he's flying around using his vampire abilities remind me a little bit of the special effects that they used for the Nightcrawler character during X2 in the original X-Men films. The rest of the trailer is mostly a montage of action scenes, just letting you know what his abilities look like. It's really just meant to be the teaser trailer and obviously just give you the big bomb, oh my god, this is happening inside the Spider-Man universe. And we have Michael Keaton as the Vulture coming back from Spider-Man Homecoming. My guess is when we get to the next trailer, there'll be a little bit more of the story, and they'll reveal a little bit more about what's going on with the villains. Because Loxias Crown is meant to be sort of the carnage for the Morbius character. Like, Venom is meant to be the anti-hero of the Venom movies, even though technically he's a Spider-Man villain. But then along comes someone who's even worse that he has to take down. So Loxias Crown is that for the Morbius character. Like I said, I'm not sure why they're using the Sam Raimi Spider-Man costume, but this is meant to be taking place after the Spider-Man Far From Home post-credit scene. So the world thinks that he killed Mysterio thanks to J. Jonah Jameson and that footage that Mysterio concocted. Also, I kind of think that there's going to be a J. Jonah Jameson cameo during this. There was a rumor that I talked about in my last Morbius teaser video. Now I'm actually starting to believe it because Michael Keaton just showed up and we got confirmation on this Spider-Man Easter egg. The other really big actor that's in this is Tyrese. It just seems like he's one of the feds who's coming for Morbius and then finds out that eventually during the course of the movie that he's not evil. There's someone that's even worse, the Loxias Crown character, and maybe they wind up teaming up to take them down. Tyrese also signed a multi-picture deal, so whatever big team-up that Morbius has with Venom, whatever Maximum Carnage storyline that they have with Spider-Man, Tyrese will also be part of that too. Then at the end of the trailer, they give you the full-on Morbius treatment. This is what he'll look like when he's in full vampire form. So maybe for this version of the movie, they're going to allow him to transform back and forth between his more human-looking form and the vampire form. In the comics, for the most part, he's locked into this one form until he finds a treatment that eventually cures him, and then he eventually gets his powers back. I know a lot of you are wondering if they're going to do the special Spider-Man storyline where he gets the multiple arms, because that's the storyline that Morbius debuted during in the Spider-Man comics. Amazing Amazing Spider-Man back during the early 1970s. I don't think that Tom Holland is going to show up in this movie with 6 arms. That would just be completely weird, but it would be funny if there was an Easter egg for that somewhere during the movie. The whole thing about his introduction in the comics is that it's actually part of a Spider-Man Lizard story with Kurt Connors. They're both looking for something to cure their condition, and they find that Morbius's blood will do that. So Morbius is more of a villain when he shows up in the Spider-Man comics for the first time. But eventually it's a very Venom movie type of twist where he's like, I'm only going to feed on people that are bad. I'm only going to hurt people that are evil. As far as the Michael Keaton Vulture cameo, it does look like he just broke out of prison because he's wearing the exact same outfit. So I don't know what Morbius is doing in this prison outfit either, because he's wearing a completely different prison uniform. But the line of dialogue, so you got tired of doing the whole good guy thing, makes it sound like maybe he breaks a bunch of people out of prison himself. I was a little upset that we didn't get a follow-up to the Spider-Man Homecoming post-credit scene during Spider-Man Far From Home, but it seems like they were saving that for the Morbius movie in this Venomverse, tying it all together. It does seem like it's all in service of a Sinister Six team-up.